Good evening and welcome to another edition of awakentheworld.ca. My name is Garen and this has been a much waited for video, I'm sure, and it is tonight we're going to be talking about reincarnation. Now, again, I have in-depth personal experience with this, and we're going to start. I have a cue card this evening scribbled, and I've done that to make sure that I do cover all the points, because what happens is I tend to get carried off in one direction, of course, and have to keep reining myself back. At the end of the day, I could speak nonstop on these subjects, and believe me, I'm being more and more motivated to do so for the sake of the whole of us all the time. So, as far as English goes, the word reincarnation came about in roughly the 1850s, 1859 or so, and it literally meant a new embodiment. And that a new embodiment, literally a new vessel, a new body. And it's more true than you might think. Reincarnation is not fiction. It is not in doubt. It is fact. As a matter of fact, as a matter of fact, hey, more quantum physicists will tell you that there is far more support for reincarnation than there is for not. And that's at a science level. And I'm going to talk about my own experiences, okay? And I have to admit, I was a little surprised when I went looking on the internet for a term for a specific meditation, and I didn't think I would find it, but I did, and it was amazing to see that it seems to be out into the internet and available now. So a long time ago, right around the time when we wrote on stone tablets, when I was about middle age, I spent 6 months in a Tibetan monastery high in the Himalayas on an intensive study and meditation course on the Jiva Mala, which is literally the necklace of souls, which is kind of a poor interpretation of what it really is. The Jiva Mala was the first of the four stages of the Bodhi tree meditation of Buddha on the path to enlightenment. And after that 6-month intensive, I spent 187 days directly after that in a tiny one-man temple, even higher in the Himalayas on this mountaintop. For over 3 months, I saw no human being and immersed myself into oneness, 18 hours a day. During one of the prolonged periods of time where I was actually chanting a Jewish mantra, Hu, or H-U, and it can be pronounced various ways depending on what your particular tastes are. The I should back up a little. The purpose of the Jiva Mala is to have conscious awakening to the point that you become aware of all of your past lives. Now, this happened to me. It happened to me 100%. At this day, I have experienced 3,284 years of existence. I have good memories of all of them. Now, the particular school in Tibetan Buddhism that deals with the Jiva Mala, and the Buddha talks about this as well, there is a great value in having this experience. There is also a little bit of a danger. I have to tell you that it was months before I settled back into being grounded in this particular existence. Okay. I'm going to look at my little cheat sheet here and make sure that I cover this. The truth about reincarnation is it's actually a critical factor in our evolution as a species. Uh, Trying to explain to you how intricate and how beautiful the web of reality truly is I just, there's nothing I can say. It's not going to work. You just have to understand that there is a beauty in the fact that every time we come back here, we bring a different perspective, a different teacher, a different student to the playing field of what this is, that looks back on the Creator in conscious awareness of itself and thereby can know itself and experience itself. And yet at the same time, we are offered the opportunity as a species to continually evolve ourselves forward. Now that doesn't mean we're always moving forward. A lot of times we move backwards, a couple steps back, then, forward, a dozen steps, and maybe we get knocked back 50 steps. This is a state of our current state of existence, actually, okay, is we're at a precipice now where we can get kicked back a whole lot of steps, or we can push ourselves up over the edge and onto the mountaintop, and I'd really like to see that. Back to reincarnation. So in this Jiva Mala process I went through, I reintegrated the entirety of those lives. And the reason that this is a good idea is because immediately you're no longer, you're not confined to your ego self anymore. I understand that I've got hundreds of ego selves. Each one a filter, each one a different filter looking back on the Creator, a different type of lens. Each one of them on a journey. Each one of them moving towards awareness. This is the beauty of reincarnation, and this is the truth of reincarnation. Now, I'm going to throw something in the mix here that a lot of you aren't going to be able to understand, and a lot of you are not going to want to deal with this, and for that I'm truly sorry. There are no past lives. What you are is living all of those lives simultaneously. You're so vast. You're huge. The soul does not reside in the body. It does not reside in the vessel. It's like GPS, okay? Your body is being manifested inside of what you are as part of that sea of consciousness. It's manifesting all of your reincarnations, its reincarnations, at the same time, simultaneously. That's why they're actually accessible, is because they exist right now. They're happening right now. It's just a shift sideways, dimensionally, that when you wake up enough, you'll be able to do too. And the other advantage to it that the Buddha talks about, and it's very true, okay, is you gain a fantastic amount of intuitive wisdom. You know, my wife would tell you this, hands down, that when things happen, before she even can conceptualize in her thoughts what's going on, I've already analyzed it and have a solution. And she constantly says, I don't know, how do you do that? I can't keep up. And I keep telling her, well, you don't need to keep up. What you have to do is stop trying. I don't really think my way through anything anymore. I just don't. There's no need. The truth of what you are when you fully surrender as an egoic being to it is that you already know everything you need to know. In the silence, right action, right thought, right word happen all by themselves. It's beautiful. This is the truth of reincarnation. It's all happening right now. It's beautiful, and you can access it. Now, let's clear up a couple things, and again, there's going to be some people who might be making a living at this who are going to be upset with me, and I apologize to those people too. I don't mean to make things tough on you. But as the egoic being I am today, the one that thinks its name is Garen, okay, I don't have any claim to the fact that I was a famous Japanese shogun in one of my past lives. That doesn't make me special in this life. And clearly, had I fully awakened in that life, I wouldn't have had a need for this life. I would have been here by choice, and I would have set things up differently, to be honest. You don't have claim to a past egoic being. It's not you in the perception that your ego has. And as I've talked about before, neither can your current being claim to be the doer, because it's not. And we've talked about that, and we're going to talk more about the doer again later too. The other pitfall of reincarnation, besides the ego building through trying to through trying to relate any accomplishments or who you were in another life, and it wasn't who you were, it's who the higher self was, okay, that you become consciously aware of. There's a common mistake that the being today thinks, well, I'm the being that's awake remembering all these past, they must be all my past lives. They're not your past lives. They're their own lives. And they're not past. They're happening right now, totally independent of your egoic being, but part of the collective whole, which is taking in this magnificent experience and in awe of itself, and in such joy and love that when you open yourself to it, it radiates through your being at all times. The other thing the Buddha said that integrating your past lives does for you is it shows you what true compassion is, because you have direct experience of the suffering of others when you realize that those other egoic beings that you were suffered too in their egos, and suffered unnecessarily, but still chose to suffer, because we do choose one way or the other. And again, my wife always says, well, I don't understand your compassion, because your compassion tends to cut people to the bone. And I said, you misunderstand. The difference between a teacher and a master is a teacher will teach you how to behave today. These are the virtues you should possess. These are the things you should do. And you're going to forget them, and you're going to have to go back tomorrow and learn it again. A master cuts a hole into the ego to let the light that you truly are out, and says, do you see that? And does that over and over and over again. And sometimes it's not very pretty. And I don't apologize for that, because the goal is always to wake people up. If you bruise a few egos in the process, that's really not the end of the world. I'm going to go back to my cards for a minute. There's a lot of Christians out there who will argue left, right, and center about reincarnation being a total lie, because of course it negates the whole hell thing immediately, and the whole idea of heaven. I mean, come on. It sounds great. Gold streets, huge mansions, and you spend all day worshiping God on your knees on those gold streets. As fun as that really sounds, not. After 1,000 years, you're going to be wishing to blow your own head off again. And lament that you will be in hell. You really will. So it makes absolutely no possible sense to me that we would even consider to live such a way. This is the underpinnings of the whole thing. The Christians would have you believe that Christ, the Bible, would never support such a thing, and yet it's crystal clear in the Bible. And when the disciples find out, it's very nonchalant, you know. And I have the King James Version right here, and it's in Matthew 17, and it starts at verse 10, and I'm just going to read. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elijah must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elijah truly shall first come and restore all things, but I say unto you that Elijah is come already, and they know him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spoke unto them of John the Baptist. It doesn't say the disciples were freaked out by it. It says, oh, they understood. Oh, he's talking about John the Baptist. It was a everyone knew it. Reincarnation was not only in the Bible, it was accepted, and it appeared many more times in some of the original versions before the various councils and control structures got into this book. Okay, the mystical, the Gnostic parts of every major religion all understand and accept reincarnation. I'm here to tell you today it is a reality. I'm also here to say, don't mistake the fact that you can remember past lives for anything more than going beyond your limited egoic view of self. Take the pressure off yourself. You don't have to get it all right in this life. There's no failing. You can't screw it up. You're not better than the last life. You're different. Now we're going to talk about karma and reincarnation, because there's a lot of information out there about karma that quite frankly is incorrect, because it still feeds into the idea that there's somehow a penalty attached to you, and there is not. Okay, if you haven't seen my video on my first near-death experience, please watch it. You know, I've been there. There's no judgment. The first time I went, I was ripe for judgment. Let me tell you, if there would have been a guy who was ready for hell, it would have been me. It never happened. Where was I? Reincarnation, yeah. And karma. Which incidentally is the name of our cat. And there's a reason for that too. So let's clear karma up. What karma really is simply that any vibration you create is going to have a reciprocal vibration in order to return to a balance. So when an action that has been taken within the realm of any of the egos that are being manifested by the higher self, and again, they're all happening in real time, okay, not past. That's all, you know, just ego stuff, okay? Lack of understanding. Time is not linear. It isn't. It's a construct. When you, and ultimately it's parts of itself doing damage to itself and learning how to deal with that. It's really, it's so hard to put into words. That's why you really just got to get to the point where you have that prolonged satori experience and you begin to experience this for yourself. I'm just pointing the way. That's all I can do for you. When you harm someone per se. What you're actually doing is you're creating a negative, and negative isn't even the right word because there really is no right and wrong, good and evil. Those are all human constructs and they change all the time. You're creating a dissonant vibration that stays in the dissonant field of itself, inside the field of the consciousness. And that this dissonant vibration, when one of the egoic identities that the higher self is experiencing exhibits this same dissonant vibration or a similar dissonant vibration, that other dissonant vibration, through the law of attraction, attaches itself to it. And then that particular egoic entity, let's say it's an entity named Garen, has the experience that his negativity seems beyond what it should be. It's like really bumming him out. From a higher point of view and from the higher self, all is that it's seen is that the universe is coming back into energetic balance within the microcosm of the individuated higher self. And within the smaller, let's call the higher self a macrocosm actually. And then the individuated, in the microcosm, the individuated egos within that. So karma is not retribution for past actions from an ego that you have nothing to do with. That's a load of crap. It's strictly vibratory harmony. Things coming back into balance. And it happens all the time. It happens all around us. And when you pay attention, you will see that your thoughts will drive your body to react with feelings. And those feelings are alarm bells that a dissonant state is being created within the energy field of that ego. And then that ego, of course, exists inside the macrocosm of the higher self that's having all its lifetime experiences at one moment. Now this is a lot to wrap your head around. And I really invite the questions. And I think what I'm going to do and what I'm going to ask this time is that you send us your questions. Write the questions on our Awaken the World page. And we'll do another video or another couple if we have to, and I'll answer any more questions on this that we can. The last topic that I want to really talk about is it's important that the fact of reincarnation be reintegrated into all religions. And I'm going to tell you why. And this hit my wife like a sledgehammer when I first told her. Because, of course, she was a devout Christian for decades, ever since young and heavily involved in the church in a background of preachers and pastors and holier than thous and the whole bit. And here's the deal. This has to be reintegrated. Because all three major religions are actually swinging the bat for Armageddon. They fully expect it. And at a subconscious level, they're participating in making it happen. To them, the world has to be destroyed first in order for it to be remade. So they're hell-bent on that destruction in order to bring heaven onto earth. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Let's destroy the place so we can make it better. But of course, it's not we who's going to make it better. It's the Supreme Being that's going to come here and turn it all into flowers and sunshine for 1,000 years. Reincarnation. I mean, let's face it. We don't protect and preserve our planet and our environment and our food sources and our forests and our oceans and our lakes and rivers and streams and wildlife for ourselves. We don't truly love our children enough because we don't preserve it for them either, nor our grandkids. But the ego is selfish. Understanding that, you're going to come back at any level. What sort of planet do you want to come back to? Well, you know what? You're going to preserve it so that the next part of yourself, because you're still part of that collective whole, okay, that comes back here, is going to be able to know what a tree looks like or be able to breathe and not have an IQ of like 40 because there's not enough oxygen left. Another side effect of our pollution that a lot of people never talk about. It's a really interesting subject, actually, what's happening to IQ levels, the dumbing down of the human race. This is the end of the video on reincarnation for tonight. I look into my eyes. Reincarnation is fact. It's not fiction. Anyone who tries to convince you otherwise simply doesn't know. Do the research for yourself. Take the anecdotal evidence, the number of cases out there. Go and look at the records in Tibet for yourself. Experience it. Do the Jiva Mala for yourself. There's many ways of doing it, and it doesn't have to be an intensive 9-month practice. Get into it. Don't take my word for it. Have the experience. It's always best. This has been Garen for awakentheworld.ca. Peace to you and namaste to all of you. I love all of you. You're all parts of the whole, parts of myself, parts of the self. And we're going to talk again very soon. Take care. Good night.